a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about Tactical Marines or Gabriel's Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
There. Hello. Good evening. I hope you've got the disclaimer sound effects, right? We fixed it. I fixed it?
You did.
Hello.
Hold on.
Good evening.
It did have sound effects. I did hear it.
Okay, great.
I didn't, but I muted it, so that makes perfect sense.
That's probably why. Okay, so hello to the chat. Who we got in the chat? Jason Trump, Jim Carroll, Michael Ho, Matthew Byro, X07, Werty. Good evening to all of you.
Yeah, Matthew Byro sporting that lovely little squig member icon.
I love
thing.
those squigs, although I do
They're
notice
very
that
cool.
you can't tell which one's which.
Well, we can't exactly have different colour squigs, can we? They're all red. We could have like
You know, whatever colour squig you like.
we could have like a darker red squig or a brighter orange
Well,
squig.
I just love the squigs. They are my favourite thing. Somebody asked me about those the other day, and I was like, they are amazing.
How are you doing,
Love
John?
squigs. I love anything with teeth.
I'm doing great. Did you guys see this meme?
Which meme?
GW has contacted the
Yes.
police to help catch
Yes.
the leaker who's still at large.
I have seen that meme. Yes, it is absolutely that his head is that tall and nothing at all to do with anything else that might be protruding in a very straight kind of fashion.
So, yeah, someone leaked the entire rulebook this week, huh?
did.
I've had a read through it. I think Tony said he has not. Mark, have you had a read through it?
I've had a very, very quick skim through it. I love the fact that all of these pictures are clearly this guy sat in a car taking pictures on his mobile. Fucking hell. Why are you doing this? It's like some guy on his lunch break or something who's managed to rob it or whatever. I don't know. God.
I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
I was convinced that they would just drop the rules because it seems like the leaks are like they're so often now. It's just every day.
Well,
I'd have thought they'd release the sort of like the digital core rules off the back of this the way they do when anything gets leaked these days, but I guess that's too much of an early change to their plans.
right,
Okay.
so we need to answer some questions before we do some other bits. Oh, Michael Ho, welcome to joining the Three Grots. You are very, very welcome. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much.
Michael
well,
Ho,
let's
Michael
welcome
Hoff,
to Grot.
Michael Haug.
I would say I think it's Puff. Puff.
You're in Huff.
Maybe.
We'll find
Maybe.
out.
But before we
okay,
start,
so
stuff,
Jason's
though,
bang
I've
on
got a
about the
question.
box not being cancelled. We've got to answer this. Do you care about the box not being cancelled?
No, not really. I mean, it's a shame that it's a part of game history, but it's also a shame I don't really care because I never really played them.
John?
Correct me if I'm wrong here. It only affects box knots like with a multi-melta and a claw, an assault cannon and a claw, or a missile launcher and a twin link las cannon. It's like the very vanilla
even that.
variant.
It's only the kit.
Yep.
You can't buy the original kit, but the weapon loadouts, you just run it as a Venerable. The Venerable has access to all of the same weapon loadouts. It's just got 2 up ballistic skill.
So why would I care that you can't buy the chicken dreadnought that's 25 years old? I guess
It would depend on whether you were particularly attached to it as in a I don't know.
I mean, I'm attached to my librarian dreadnought, which I can still run.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
they will still sell,
from a
right?
game's point of view, I'd always run the Venerable anyway because it's just better for the points you paid for it. But
I've
There
got
we
a
go.
metal one, and I run it as a Venerable anyway because it's both Venerable in age and in fluff.
and the Venerable Dreadnought basically looks the same. It's got the same aesthetic going on. So for the sake of my collection, I'm glad I've got one of them. And I can't
I don't
say
mind
I'm
what they've done,
that.
to be honest. I think this is a reasonable way of doing it. All they've really done is rolled the data sheets together and said you can't buy the old kit anymore.
Fair enough.
You can just buy the kit that's 10 years younger. So I'm not really that bothered. I know people expected me to be quite upset about it, but for once, I wasn't.
There is another
Um,
question we've got to ask, though. John,
What?
has your Dante been dispatched yet? Still not. Fucking
No.
hell.
Mine has.
They updated it to say it was getting dispatched tomorrow in the morning, and then in the afternoon they changed it like back 4 days
Yeah.
again or something.
Oh, which means they didn't get the deliveries that they were expecting to get. Oh, dude.
It's fine. He'll be here for 10th edition, I guess. I already got my firstborn Dante on one of those basic extenders now, so I can sort of use the new one.
What else have we got in the chat? So, Cesario Rainbow Squid Worm, want to get around to painting one. I don't know if we'll do a Rainbow Squid thingy, because I think it's bronze, silver, gold is the why they've gone with them. But I will paint a Rainbow Squid, because I just think it'd be funny to just do a bonkers squig in all the different colours. Highland says the meme could have been worse. Ah, it's Michael Huff.
Huff.
Told you it was Huff. Huff.
All right, you win. Alec.
Well, 1-0 to me. Let's get going.
Puts you in your place, mate. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I get Dante for 10th edition at this point, it's fine.
That's looking fucking dicey at this point, isn't it? So all the leaks so far have suggested that it's supposed to go on pre-order on Saturday the 10th for release on Saturday 24th, which means they should announce the pre-orders on the evening of Sunday the 4th of May, which is just over 2 weeks away from now.
We're not Valorant. We haven't got super insider sources, but our very few insider sources that we have got have all said 10th for 10th.
We've got this guy. What are you talking about? We've got a 10-head man.
10-head man? What?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
This is our inside man. The guy that took the photo.
Guy, right? Okay, fine. He didn't give us a release.
This is our inside man. Yeah, I mean, he was useless in giving us a We're hoping he leaks us the whole indexes next with more like back of his head.
Well, I imagine he's done what's happened last time. Is he's got hold of a pre-production rulebook somewhere, or one that's in the supply chain. He's just like managed to open it up, have a look, take some pictures. But the indices are all going to be digital only. All the rules in the indexes are download only. They won't be available to purchase. Only the data sheets and the cards that go with them will be. So I doubt you'll be able to find the index rules leaked like this in the same way.
Okay.
Sorry to burst your bubble there.
I don't know. I was about to say the index in the box, but of course they're not in the box. It's a fucking stupid statement. There'd be far too many to fit in there. Someone who prints every index card has got a serious amount of sparing, or is using their company printer.
Which I imagine most people probably would be. Let's be fair here.
That's not something you're going to print that at home, is it?
I mean, what's Andrew going to do to you, John, if you start using it to print off a load of Warhammer stuff? He's going to discipline you, or is he going to say, print me yourself as well, mate? Cheers.
Yeah, he'd probably go and buy more ink so he could print more.
When I was 17, I printed, I can't remember, it was a walkthrough. I printed a walkthrough guide to something like Might and Magic 6 or something like that. And there's about 900 pages. It was about that thick.
Good God.
And I was not a popular.
What did you do to it? How did you make it readable? How do you like attach?
I used to know the ring binding
fucking
machine.
staplers won't go through that.
I used a big ring binding machine.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Hang on,
I found it in 4 volumes.
How many pages did the ring binding punching machine manage to go through at once?
I think it was about a quarter of that, about 250.
Okay.
So it was like 4 great big tomes of A4.
Chunky.
And
did you get them all perfectly aligned, or were they like slightly misaligned from each other?
No, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm like a master of the ring binding machine. But I tell you what, I was not fucking popular. What the fuck is all that lot? Why'd you print that? Oh, well, I needed them for work. Why does this say wizard?
You're a wizard, Harry.
We have a question from Patreon that got posted like a couple of minutes before the last stream we did a couple of weeks ago, so I missed it going up. I do apologise, Jeff. Mr. Jeff Weaver asked us, so GW said they were going to be limiting the number of rerolls in 10th, but there sure seemed to be a lot of rerolls on the various data sheets we've seen. If rerolls are moving to data sheets instead of character buffs, auras, and stratagems, is this a better solution than 9th Ed? Rerolls vary in effectiveness depending on the attacks being rerolled, and having the reroll tied to specific character sheets or data sheets means points adjustments can be more precisely applied to things that are a bit too good.
I mean, he does have it's a 2-part question. One part is they said that they were limiting rerolls a lot. They also said they were limiting mortal wounds a lot. And as we get further down this book, I want to tell you about some batshit crazy ways you can do mortal wounds now. So I don't know anything they said about limiting stuff is particularly accurate. But yeah, I think he is right. If a reroll is linked to a certain character or a certain unit, then it is going to be easier to balance than just like, you know,
You've not got to worry about people stacking up a load of rerolls on something and then massively multiplying up. It does it or it don't do it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a better way of doing things.
I think something I've come across on this that opinions of some of my local gaming group have said, and I share, is when GW said that they were limiting rerolls, I think they misspoke in a Warhammer community, getting the details slightly wrong. Shocker. I think what they meant to say was something along the lines of, we are limiting the number of auras and stacking buffs you can get from loads of different sources, all making one single Death Ball unit, which would make more sense if that's what they meant.
That's what they meant. Yeah, 100%. That's what they meant.
There's tons of rerolls. You're absolutely right.
They just didn't write it correctly. Yeah.
Highland says, I bet the person's kicking themselves for that shadow, as they can't now claim to their mates they did it, as they'll end up being called Conehead. I don't think they'll end up being called Conehead, Highland.
What do you think the shadow actually is?
A dick? No, sorry, what? No, it's just something. It's something stuck on the window or whatever, isn't it? It's like,
I reckon it's the steering wheel viewed side on.
Yeah, probably that could be on his passenger seat. I don't quite know. Yeah. What else we got in the chat? Office paper machines are next level skookum. Yep. Gentleman Thief. When has Tony been popular? That's a real question. Never, Jason. I've never been popular. That's how I live my life.
Jason coming in with the shots fired.
Dude, Tony's won most popular Grot twice in a row. More than John and I have.
He has indeed, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bribery. I see more mortal wounds for me to give out than I have in the past. So it's interesting. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so we'll find that out.
Trust me,
Shadow with the mirror. Yeah, you're right. It's the mirror. That's what it is. It's the rearview mirror.
You're gonna love the Dreadnought. You're gonna love Tank Shock on Dreadnoughts. By the way, Tony, you're gonna love it so much. It's so broken.
Does the Dreadnought have the vehicle keyword to be able to use that thing?
It does indeed, and so does like. So let me just give you a run through of Tank Shock. Tank Shock is super simple. You pick your highest strength weapon, right?
Yeah.
On a tank or something that has the vehicle keyword. So your Dreadnought has a fist. If it's a Redemptor, that's strength 14. So you take your strength 14 weapon. If it's higher than your enemy's toughness, I would say you're going to be.
It's in this document. If you want to scroll down a bunch and find
you're going to be higher than most things toughness, right?
You're going to scroll down past all the core rules, and there's like a section with
Tank Shock.
With Tank Shot summarized, yeah. With stratagems.
I think
a little bit higher. A little bit higher.
I just saw it.
Gone too far.
Bit higher. It's in the pages of the rulebook itself. Keep going. Up.
Oh, right, it's actually in the rulebook.
Yeah. Keep going. Up a bit more.
Okay.
Don't know if I'm watching this with too much of a timeline.
You're looking at what... It's here somewhere.
Yeah,
Tank Shock.
That's the one. Yeah.
So, until the end of the phase, after your unit charges, select one enemy with an engagement range, then select one melee weapon your unit is equipped with. So, on a Redemptor, that would be your Strength 14 fist. Roll the number of d6 equal to that weapon's strength. If the strength characteristic is greater than your enemy's toughness, I mean, who the fuck's got higher toughness than 14? Nobody, just about. So, roll 2 additional d6. So, for your Redemptor, you get to roll 16 d6 for 1 CP. For every 5 up, you take a mortal wound. That's pretty fucking nice.
That doesn't work on Dreadnoughts. That's not going to work.
It is. The Dreadnought that they've shown, the Ballistus, has the vehicle keyword.
We've got the Ballistus. The Ballistus data sheet's been shown off by GW, hasn't it?
Yeah. It has indeed been shown off.
So if it's got the vehicle keyword, then there's nothing stopping it, I'd have thought.
Correct. And do you know who else has got the vehicle keyword? Have a look. Canis Rex. What's his melee weapon strength? Oh, it's 20. Well, I guess I'll roll 22 d6 for 1 CP, and for every 5 up, I'll do a mortal wound. But there's definitely less mortal wounds getting thrown around, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
you're looking at 6 mortal wounds off of that, aren't you?
A Knight's Army doing that is obviously a bit of a easy one there. Let's be fair here.
Yeah, but. Because I was thinking before, I was like, oh, Land Raiders are going to be good. Land Raiders are going to be so good for Marines. Hold on a minute. Dreadnoughts might be good. Well, Land Raiders will still get to roll.
Dreadnoughts have always been good.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it could get worse, mate. It could get a lot worse because there's powers in some of the army previews that we've seen so far, and we have no idea whether Marines will have access to this or not, or Blood Angels will have access to this or not, that allow you to use a stratagem again that has already been used, or for 0 CP cost, right? So 2 units can do this potentially.
Oh shit! If you've got Gilliman, you could do it for 2 units, 12 mortal wounds from 2 dreadnoughts charging. I mean, so. I don't want to be too concerned because we don't know all the Blood Angels rules, right? But I just want to say
we know fucking none of the Blood Angels rules at this point.
I think that like Marine units, like Sanguinius Guard, Death Company, Vanguard Vets, these things are not going to be viable if you can charge them with 2 dreadnoughts, instantly do 12 mortal wounds, and then they're only going to wound you back on like 5s because everything's got crazy high toughness. So I guess it's going to be a totally different game than what it's been.
So there's another YouTuber I follow. The YouTube channel is Craftworld Eldar. The guy who runs it is called Brent, and he does a whole load of stuff following Eldar stuff, which is really cool. And he did one of the things he did in the summary of the Eldar faction focus was say how he reckons there's going to be this thing where vehicles are going to be so tough that infantry in general are not going to be carrying weapons capable of dealing with vehicles, but infantry are going to be able to move through terrain where vehicles aren't. So you'll have vehicles holding the open ground of the board, and your opponent will need other vehicles and other vehicle-based weaponry in order to take them out at range. With very few exceptions, like the chain fist that we've seen. It's got anti-vehicle.
I actually don't mind that because that kind of makes a bit of sense.
Yeah,
especially if they decide to up the amount of terrain on the board, because now you've got a thing. You've got to bring an army that's got vehicles and infantry. You need your infantry to be able to score, but don't get them out in the open because they're going to get run over by a tank, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
a man shouldn't be able to punch a tank. It will run him over.
Absolutely. Even a man's las cannon or rocket launcher should probably have a hard time punching through a tank's armor, whereas a vehicle-mounted heavy weaponry should certainly be more punchy.
So I like that because that gives a reason to bring tanks, which we haven't had for a long time, really.
I think as well, primarily as I'm a Marine player, I guess let's get into the rules in a second, but something that like I'm seeing right now that I think is going to be important as a Marine player, or is going to be big as a Marine player, is I think Terminators with chain fists are going to be really useful because they have that anti-vehicle 3+ keyword. So like if Power Fists and Thunderhammers are only wounding vehicles on 5s, chain fists will be wounding them on 3s. So I think chain fists on Terminators, which of course you don't get any in the new box, you just get the Power Fist variant.
Well, that's because the new box is monopose single build, so you're never going to get a huge.
And from a fluff perspective, it's supposed to be punching out Tyranids, so they're probably not going to bring them.
Yeah,
true. But chain
fists were traditionally for carving through bulkheads when they're in Space Hulk and whatnot, rather than actual weapons that you'd use against enemies.
Okay.
Shall
we start?
Let's catch up in the chat again quickly before we start on the proper bit. I think because I think it's quite a bit.
Hey Rez.
Good evening.
Evening, Burgosaurus, Ariden, DTM's joined us. Welcome. No, we're not having another vote. That was too contentious. DTM.
Contentious. It just gives us ammo to take the piss out of Tony with for the next. God knows how.
Welcome, Miguel, Firstborn Son, Titans of War. Yeah, I don't know what the strength of a Warlord's going to be, but that could be bonkers. At the moment, it's only strength 9.
Like, I don't know, strength 40. If
it'll be like strength 30 or something.
God knows, who cares?
The Volcano Cannon strength 24.
Yeah, the Blighted Legionnaire, welcome.
Welcome, Blighted Legionnaire.
Yeah.
And Klaus Keller, welcome for joining us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before we get digging into the rulebook and stuff, thanks everybody for joining us. If you want, members have got these lovely little YouTube members have got these lovely little squig icons these days, and you get your free once per month super chat milestone thing that you can use to post a message that you guarantee we will see and read out because it's really fucking hard for us to miss. Normal super chats will obviously jump up and we'll see them and we'll read them out as it goes.
Yeah. We try and keep up with the chat, but it gets lost sometimes, and that's not us being like shilling. We're not. What is it? What one is it? Is it Art of War that will only read out super chats? One of them does. We're not doing
quite
that.
a few that does that.
We'll notice them a bit easier.
Well, we're not that popular. We don't have that massive chat going on that we can't possibly read.
I like to think we're just not dicks.
Okay. That's fair enough. Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Anyway, what was it got? Highland's hoping they don't Legend Relic Terminators. They're not going to, I don't think, because they've just brought out some new ones, haven't they? Mike doesn't like the new null oil. Mike, why are you using null oil on boarding action terrain? It costs you £1 million and it's just not designed for that. Get your oil paints out. You know how to use them. That'll give you a much better result.
There was that chap in the Blood Angels Discord in the painting channel who was planning to dip his Storm Raven to shade it in a bucket of null oil paint. I'm like,
only if he's won the lottery.
oh, dude,
and also,
it's going to cost you so much.
Not for that. I think the new one's better than the old one. That's contentious. I did that video where I tested them both side by side, and the new one's better for panel lining than the old one was. The old one just tints everything grey, whereas the new one actually is a bit more targeted.
I think you're the only person that likes the new null oil. You know that.
I think it's because I use it differently.
Yeah,
I don't like just slopping it all over my stuff and calling it a day.
I use it on weaponry and silver stuff, but I've stopped using null oil on actual colours because it doesn't give the sort of finish that I like anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the command phase.
Well, Mike's showing off our
icons, our emojis, including our squig emoji and our grot emoji.
I think when we get to 10 members, we're allowed more emojis. So we need a few more members. You heard it here first.
I can't put the emojis in the chat.
That's because you're not a member.
Subscribe and give me and Mark some of your hard-earned money, and then you can have the emojis. Anyway,
if someone is generous enough to do gifted subs and we take them, that's just a horrible waste.
Yes.
No.
Okay, anyway. So this is first of all, what's our confidence in this rulebook? I've read the whole book. I would say my confidence is like 95%. I think this is the rulebook. There might be like some tweaks. This might be like a preview copy that, like an editor's edition or something. But I would say
this looks final. This looks print worthy.
From the tiny bit that I've seen, this looks like a book.
Yeah. This looks like a book somebody's got out of the box and is one of the separate books that they're selling and is just opened it up.
Or they've had this because they were using it to work out the rules for that open day or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, maybe that's where this came from. Maybe someone managed to get a hold of it.
Because I know they didn't have one on the open day, but I bet they had one round the back on the open day.
Well, yeah, they would have needed one because people can't remember all the rules off by head. There must have been one that people were referencing, and they couldn't have kept
back and checked.
They, as I understand it, they had little cheat sheet things, and their grasp of the rules wasn't great during Warhammer Fest. They were using combat patrol level, slightly simplified rules, I think.
Okay.
But hey. All right. Anyway, so well, the command phase is there's fucking nothing there really.
So you get
all
command
the things
point.
that are going to go on in command phase is going to be all the things on data sheets like choose this ability and do this. Power and whatnot.
And there's no command points pre-game now. So as the game starts, you start with your first command point. Is so we're told. Yes, we don't know if that's 100%. Yeah. And then battle shock.
There's that little thing on the side there that says outside the CP, you gain at the start of command phase, you can only gain a total of 1 per battle round regardless of source, which is same as before, but worth clarifying.
I hope they actually keep this because there was a bunch of stuff like with the Votan where they could just ignore that rule in 9th edition. It seems stupid that some armies can just ignore it and get more than one.
Yeah, there was some legalese going on that meant it was a little bit unclear as to whether some things were subject to that rule and some things weren't. But yeah, that one seems fairly... like there's not going to be a lot of exceptions to this. It's pretty clearly written.
Yeah, there was one just today though in the Knights preview, wasn't there, where it was like if you become honoured on your Knights, you instantly get 3 CP or something like that. I was at work. I didn't. It says at the start of any of your command phases, your selected oath deed is completed. Your army becomes honoured, and for the rest of the battle, you gain 3 CP. You can only gain CP in this way once per battle. So, I mean, I guess it's specifically called out that yes, there will be the odd thing that breaks this rule. So it's a bit weird that they would write it down. But whatever. I guess little things always fall through the cracks, don't they?
Stupid game. Yeah.
Stupid game.
Right.
Yes.
Broken already. Hey.
Broken on page 1. There we go. What do you think about Battle Shock then? So Battle Shock is basically take a Battle Shock test for each of your units from your army on the battlefield that is below half strength. And it sounds like you have to do that for the rest of the game. Once they're below half strength, you have to Battle Shock them every Battle Shock phase. Yep.
So you're going to be needing markers for your army for things that have been Battle Shocked one way or the other, which is going to be worth... I don't know, buying some things now, or maybe we could get some made up, but knows.
It's gonna
I
say
like
if you
it.
still got second edition, you used to have those like rallied markers.
Yeah, I like it. I like the effects. I think what it does makes sense. I was annoyed about having to roll it every turn when this first got leaked, but yeah, works for me.
I don't think it will take that long, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the idea how the
It's
best.
used to. I'm sure back in earlier editions it had this rule. If you were under half strength, you had to keep rolling them.
Well, you would break, and then you would have to try and rally. And once
Yeah.
you rallied, you were good. So it's kind of different.
Thematically, I love the idea that you don't lose models for morale these days. They get slightly sort of shaken, and their ability to affect the battle is reduced because they're more afraid or a little bit messed up in their head. I don't know.
Yes. So
It works for me.
I'm a little bit. Maybe we can use this. If anyone's unclear in the rules as well, throw it into the chat. Do I have to take a battle shock test in my command phase and the opponent's command phase? Because it says in this step, you must take a battle shock test for each of your units. To do so, roll 2d6. The result is greater or equal to the best leadership characteristic in a unit that is passed. Otherwise, the test is failed.
Well,
And
this will
until
be
the
a player
start
turn.
of your next
This will
command
be the
phase.
first step of the player turn, right? So
So I'm just battle shocking my units.
Yeah.
Like
at the start of your turn.
okay.
Yeah, here you
So
go.
far-
Yeah. It says in the next bit, once you have taken battle shock tests for all of your units that require them, your command phase ends. So,
So-
for each one of your command phases, you got to do your battle shock tests.
So let's say I charge you, Tony, and you kill half my guys. Am I taking a battle shock test then? No, I'm only taking it. So my guys are good until it's
Well,
my
I don't
command
know,
phase
unless it
again.
says something that you do take it in the fight thing. I haven't read the book yet. But
Okay,
according to
alright.
this,
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Let's keep going then.
It's worth noting, though, that this does mean that some units like Death Company might give zero fucks about Battleshock whatsoever if they have, for example, objective control of 0, because Death Company aren't interested in holding objectives. Therefore, if they get Battleshocked, they're not going to care.
Yeah, the only
I
thing
suppose you can't use stratagems on them, which is a little
we
bit
don't
of a
know that they're
thing,
going to
but
have any good stratagems to use on them anyway.
It's very true.
True.
Very true.
Uh,
Or
they
the data sheet might say they don't do Battleshock because they don't care. They might have a really good one. Who knows?
Yeah.
At this point. Yeah, let's do this. What are we looking at now? Next one?
Starting strength. They talk a few times about this, how units have starting strength or below half strength.
Well, they've got to define this stuff clearly, and I think they have.
Yeah, that's.
I like
that's
the
no change
definition
on
of it for joining characters to regular units, and the how clear the definition is as part of that. That works for me. Starting strength changes. Yeah.
So some character units have the leader ability, which lets them merge with other units to form an attached unit.
So the attached unit is the combined unit. That's the term for it.
Okay. The starting strength of an attached unit is equal to the combined starting strength of all the units, i.e. the number of models in the leader's unit attached to the number of models in the bodyguard unit. If either of the leader unit or the bodyguard unit in an attached unit is destroyed, the starting strength of the remaining unit is changed to be its original starting strength. Okay, so you could lose your characters out of the unit, but the unit would still technically be at full strength.
It could be, yes, exactly. And they got this little definition at the bottom that says when a unit is destroyed, that still triggers if the leader part of the attached unit is destroyed, because they still count as a discrete unit for those purposes, which is good. Is there an argument going on in chat about Dreadnoughts?
They're basically saying that they're dead.
Well, they're not dead, are they? They've said that the standard one is, but the venerable one, the fancy chapter ones aren't dead.
Yeah.
Is what they've said so far. But and Mike's very sorry, Mike. Rezzy's upset that the 4-job kits are going, and I'm upset as well. But I'm going to just say this now. I called it.
Yeah, it's been in the air for quite some time, really.
So I'm sad that they're going. I don't like that they're going. But we've had this discussion like 3 times now that I don't like the fact that this edition is going to get rid of all the things I like.
The Dimacaron was a beautiful big bug, but let's face it,
I've
it was
got one
rare
here
as
to
all
paint, I
hell.
think, somewhere.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any concerns with the starting strength stuff? Were you all happy with that? In the
No, I
attached
think it
unit
makes
units?
sense.
Works for me.
Okay. All right, movement phase. We are moving units.
I mean, this looks basically the same as it was in Ninth Ed, really. I can't see any functional differences.
The only exception to this is when moving monsters or vehicle units, models cannot be moved over friendly monster or vehicle units and must be moved around them. That was the same anyway, was it not?
No, you used to be able to move over your own vehicles, I think.
You used to be able to move through friendlies, I believe.
Yeah. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure you could move through friendlies. I just don't think it ever come up, really.
Either way, not moving through a Land Raider is something I'm cool with. So,
yeah.
I
don't think you should be able to shoot through Land Raiders, and I'm hoping they brought that back. Because it used to be you could just ignore whatever units you wanted to, which always struck me as bizarre.
I thought it was you could ignore other models in your own unit for purposes of line of sight of shooting.
Yeah, but if you stick a Baneblade sideways along the front of your army, you shouldn't be able to have the member.
But that's not a model in the same unit that's firing. That's
no, sorry, your same unit's fine. Yeah, they'll just move. Jeff, get out of the way.
Okay.
Like every time I take a shot, you put your head in it. I'm going to blow your own fucking head off one of these days.
Tony, is your camera on manual focus?
No, it's on autofocus and it's following me all over the show.
It does seem a bit drunk, it's true. It's like it's got bottle eyes going on occasionally.
Oh, you keep talking, I'll fix the camera.
So
moving is very much the same. There's nothing new to know about moving.
You move or you don't. You can't move in engagement range. Fine.
If you advance, you can still advance. You cannot advance into engagement range. Units that advance cannot shoot or charge unless, of course, they have an assault weapon.
Say otherwise. Yeah, exactly.
Which we'll come back to.
If you fall back, you got to fall back, unless you're broken or battle shocked. Sorry, in which case you've got a desperate escape, which used to be a stratagem, but now isn't because nobody ever fucking used it. So now it's just part of the rules.
Okay,
it's fine. Brilliant. Cut
so
down on
desperate
stratagem rule spec.
Yeah. So if you surround a transport now, can they desperate escape out of it? Or that's gone.
I just saw a name I recognised in the chat. Yeah, Bjorn's alive, Alex. He's still around. Yeah. And Catapult's joined us as well.
Hey, Cata.
Hey, what's up, dude?
It's his Dimacaron I've got. Sorry, dude. It's gone.
Sorry. Well, to be fair, the box knots were already scalping on eBay because I guess people want box knots. So maybe you can double your money on the Dimacaron.
The only reason I ever want to buy one of the old box knots is because that was the only way you could get the missile launcher arm for the old box knot dreadnought, because that arm does not come in the Vendread kit, which bugged me.
But the thing is, they're all push fit and they all fit the same plug anyway. So if you buy the Vendread and the box knot, you've got all of the options.
Yeah. Okay, so desperate escape is fine. You can move over enemy models. If you do so on a 1 or 2, one of your models is destroyed. Simple as that. Fine.
And
there's a lot of
you roll a dice for each model.
There's some free advertising for Ford in this. If you want to buy Ford. All right, moving over terrain. This seems a little bit different. I thought this seemed different, right? A model can be moved over terrain features that are 2 inches or less in height as if they were not there.
Yeah, they just like parkour over them. That's fine.
So, but anything can do that. Monsters can do that. Vehicles can do that. Anything can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit different from what we had before. So if you have a pipe across the battlefield that maybe a tank couldn't get over before, or a dreadnought maybe wouldn't go over before. Typically, if it was 2 inches high before, we would probably, like if you were trying to move a monster over it, we would probably charge you 2 inches up, 2 inches down to move over it. Right?
That's a good point. It specifies models. It doesn't specify anything else. So if I'm reading this correct, there is nothing stopping a rhino driving up the side of a building and ending on top of a building if it's got enough move to let it do so. Right?
We haven't seen how vehicles interact with terrain yet, to be fair.
Okay, they might have other vehicle rules. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
This is what I called out. It was different. When we get to charging, I think there was something different here as well. But I think they've tried to really simplify movement. So it's just like,
and we've had the feature on terrain already, so I can't remember all the details for it, but there's obviously rules about how specific types of unit interact with specific types of terrain.
Does 2 inches of terrain still provide cover? Well, I guess we'll get to cover. It'll be in here later. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I think you're right. If a rhino can sit happily on top of that building, there's nothing to say it just can't drive up it, right?
Based on what we've read so far on here. There might be other rules saying otherwise.
Flying models. Fly models can move over enemy models when they make a normal, advance, or fallback move. They could do that before. Fly models that start or end a movement on a terrain feature measure distance moved through the air. So this is different as well, right?
Yeah.
Whereas before...
I like that. That makes sense to me. It means you can hop from building to building. You've not got to go down the building, across, and then back up the building.
But if there's like a building in the way, a wall in the way, you can't just fly through it because flying models can't ignore terrain when they move.
It seems
they
that
can
way,
only ignore models. It doesn't say anything about ignoring terrain when moving.
Yeah, so in the example at the bottom of the page, if, I guess before, you could have moved 12 full inches along in unlimited height, right? Whereas now you basically have to draw...
horizontally no matter how high you were jumping over and down. Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now you basically have to Pythagoras it. So if you want to go to building 5 inches up, you're probably only going to be able to move 8 inches forward, right? Because you have to...
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean,
but if you're already up there, you can hop onto the next building without having to pay the extra cost.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Which makes... I think, to me, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it does, but it does limit every... Like, flying... This is a nerf to flying models, essentially.
It is, but it's a logical one. I don't mind this. I think this is probably good for the game, to be honest, because it means that fly isn't just a get out of jail free card for terrain. You can't be like, well, there's terrain about, but it doesn't matter because I'm an all melee army and I ignore terrain because I fly. Now it's saying, right, well, that's great. If you've got fly, you can move a lot better from terrain to terrain to terrain, but
you still can't fly through a wall if it's in the way.
Yeah, so it is a nerf, but I think it's more of a balancing mechanic. So it means that there's a reason not to just give everything fly and ignore the terrain. The terrain matters even if you've got an all-flying army.
Yeah, cool.
So, yeah, I think that's fair, I think.
So, hold on. So, imagine I have a unit of guys right behind like a 5-inch obscuring wall that we have a lot in the current meta. If I want to jump over that wall, am I paying 5 inches up, 5 inches down? Am I essentially only going to be able to get a few inches to the other side of the wall?
Yes, but maybe not, because I think there were those rules about terrain features that said infantry can move through ruins without taking penalties for doing so.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that it matters.
Yeah.
But even if it did, again, it would make sense, because if you just have to boost straight up, well, that's used all your fuel up in your jetpack, hasn't it? Boost straight up into the air.
Makes logical sense. But equally so, John's right, if that is true, that it is technically enough.
It is enough.
But
I'm
it
not
makes
denying
sense.
that it's enough, definitely. Yeah. Why is my fucking camera spazzing out again?
Have you just like...
I switched it on to single...
or something?
I don't fucking know. Epoxy thing. Sorry, that's not fair. I love my camera.
Everybody in chat, please tell Tony how awesome he is, because he's having some really tough times right now, and he's fucking awesome, and we need him to know that he's awesome. Help me in this.
In a right shit mood. That's what he's in. Right. Okay. Is that working?
Yeah.
Almost. Problem is that I put it in manual focus, but in order to focus it, I've got to put it slightly out of focus and then move back and see if I've made it right.
Mike says, Tony, you're adequate.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant.
Let's move on to reserves. Is there much to talk about in reserves? I didn't see in the version.
It's not quite reserves, but it's
reinforcements.
Yes,
reserves is part of it.
Okay, I didn't see this sheet here. The sheet that I saw was that they have limited what can go into strategic reserve. I guess we'll come into that later. So strategic reserves are because they were out of order.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this here is basically what we expected it to be. It's exactly the same as it currently is for reserves. It doesn't specify any limits because that's, I assume, going to be part of the mission pack. Yeah, Reserves do
Makes sense.
or reinforcements do reinforcements things. That's fine. Got no problem with that. They count as having made a normal move on the turn they set up. They can shoot, declare a charge whatsoever. I like that the method of arriving from reserves is going to be specified by the universal special rule or rule on the data sheet that allows you to go into reserves.
Yeah.
Which is
So it's
cool.
either outflank, I assume, or deep strike, or whatever. And that's going to mean a different thing. If you've got outflank, you come in from the sides. If you've got deep strike, you can come in anywhere.
There's a page a little bit later on covering the universal special rules that allow you to do this sort of stuff. So we'll
We'll talk
hopefully
about
get
it when
to
that
that.
happens.
Yeah, they seem to have made it a bit more lenient for strategic
Yeah.
reserves, but we'll get to
Any
that.
specified distance for enemy models applies to horizontal distance. Yeah, cool. All right.
Makes
fine.
sense. Apparently, I swear like DTM's grandma.
Okay.
That's not swearing.
That's a lot of swearing.
Is that a comment on you or a comment on his grand?
I don't know. It could go either way, couldn't it? Alex's parents told him never to lie. If you didn't, no, nobody would know this, but Alex Cayley in the chat is actually the guy that gave me that fuck off great big box of old hammer.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Which I've actually been raiding. I've digged these out the other day out of that. That's one of the old second edition Space Marines.
Oh,
Which
nice.
we're going to use for a review if I ever get round to it of these war colour.
And you might get to use some of that epic stuff in the future if that tease
absolutely.
is
So I'm going to use those on it.
nice.
Yeah, they didn't. They've said how many points can be strategic reserve. I don't know if they said how many points can be in reinforcements. Highland Phoenix. I guess we'll see if that's in here. It seems like the fight phase has been simplified to fight first and then everybody else. Thank God.
Okay. Until they decide to put in an extra special rule in a new codex 6 months down the line, adding in fight last. Who could have possibly predicted such a thing? But again,
so no unit can fight more than once. In each step, if all of one player's eligible units that can fight during that step have fought, the opposing player can then fight with all of the remaining eligible units that can fight during that step, one at a time.
okay, so fights first is a universal special rule that some units will have, and all units that made a charge move and have a charge bonus
Game for that turn.
gain fights first. Okay, cool. Have I missed the thing where it says the order you pick the units?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to read. In both steps of the fight phase, players alternate selecting eligible units to their army, one at a time, starting with the player whose turn is not taking place and fighting with them.
Okay, so if...
Oh, no, that makes sense. That makes sense, that does.
Why?
Because let's say, right, if you've charged, you're in the fight first bracket now, right?
Yes.
Let's say you've charged someone with a fight first special rule.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They get to fight before you do.
No. If you do that, then the person you charged gets to interrupt then, because they can be like, well, hang on, look, I've got these two units you've charged. They've both got fight first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fight with this unit before you get to fight, but then you get to fight and fight the other one. So does that make sense? So it's interrupts.
Kind of,
So by doing that, it allows you, if you've got the fight first special rule, it allows it to work like the interrupt that we used to from 9th edition.
So, for example, Mephiston's fight first, which we've talked about being absolute garbage.
Something Jim has said in chat as well. That Speed of the Primarch, under these rules, would actually be useful.
Yeah, actually finally has a use after friggin' 6 years of something.
So let's say you've got Mephiston standing there with Speed of the Primarch. I know he can't be anymore, but let's imagine that he is.
Yeah.
And the enemy charge him. Well, he can go, no, fuck you. I'm Mephiston. I'm faster than all of you and cut you all down to a man before you've got a chance. Well, then that means...
Unless he
charge
charges someone with fight first, in which case they get fight before he does.
But
Either
so
way.
if they charge 2 units, then you can be like, well, I'm going to Mephiston that unit, but if you do that, then they're going to muller that other unit first.
I'm not sure that I like this change, but I'm not sure that I dislike it either. It's a thing. It's more consistent in that you've got two
I think it's
initiative steps, so to speak, and the person who's player. It
makes fight first rules more useful defensively.
Yes, it makes it much more. It actually makes it a viable warlord trait, or maybe it's an enhancement. But yeah, that makes it viable. Yeah. You heard it here first. Mephiston is a meta pick now.
9th
anyone
edition
that's-
Mephiston in 10th ed is really good. Yeah, there you go. Cheers, John. Great.
Okay, great. Thank
Alright, yeah,
God
cool.
all the fight last.
You've taught me around. I'm on
nonsense is
board with
gone.
that. That's good. Love
Um,
that.
Charge bonus is apparently mentioned at the bottom of the page. Where?
It's referred to, but it's not mentioned in here yet. Because the fight phase takes place after charging. So maybe maybe this guy didn't bother to take a picture of the charge rules. Or they come later. Who
Or
knows?
they come later. Who knows? I feel like they should come before. But anyway,
Fast dice rolling. Can we skip over fast dice rolling? Because
I think so. Yes.
we all know how to deal with that.
I think we all know what a data sheet is as well, right?
Yeah.
Um,
We can work with that. That's fine.
deployment abilities. Here you go then.
A what?
Deployment abilities.
Okay, cool. So these are the universal special rules by which a model may deploy abnormally.
Yes. So deep strike is the same as teleport strike. Is the same as
Or
death
jump
from
pack.
above.
Yeah.
It's standard.
They're
Deploy
all
9
types of
inches
deep
away
strike,
from your
which is
enemy.
fine.
We know all that. Scout is basically your pre-game move, and it will be scout and then a number. So if we want Death Company to have a pre-game move, I guess they will be scout and a number after them, or they won't have a pre-game move, right?
Death Company, Scout 12. That would be awesome. Cheers. Let's have some of that.
Yeah. Who knows what they'll have, but anything.
As can any dedicated transport model such a unit starts the battle embarked with.
Can
dedicated
also make the
transport doesn't
scout.
have to have it if a scout unit is inside it. That's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually, isn't it?
So a scout land speeder might not have
Scout.
the scout rule, but the scouts inside it might, which means the
Yeah,
land
but
speeder.
it'll still probably only let it move for 6 inches or whatever.
Oh yeah, it'll still only let it move the distance that the scout
Yeah.
rule says, which is cool.
That's how it works with in 9th at the moment with whatever the sisters unit is, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I put
I think
5
they can only move
infiltrators
6
with
inches.
scout 6 and a land raider with 10 blade guard, you do not then get to move the land raider because the blade guard, we assume, wouldn't have the scout rule. Therefore, the only things inside the land raider would have to have that scout rule to allow them to do it, Robert, the way this is written.
I don't know that you're going to be allowed to put multiple units in a transport either.
Plus, a land raider is not a dedicated transport. It's a safe bet that a land raider is not a dedicated transport. So that
Yeah.
almost certainly won't work anyway.
I don't know that it's true, but I suspect that you won't be able to put more than one unit in a transport. Do you remember we didn't see earlier on how many, like, let's say the transport can transport? I think it's going to say something like 1 unit.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think it showed a number of models, and I think that's the only stipulation on the land speeder.
I'm not sure I've read it categorically one way or the other, but the way this scout rule suggests, provided only models with visibility are embarked in dedicated transport, that
Yeah,
has
but
to
you could
mean
have a
there's an
character
option to have
attached to
a mixed. There could be models in there that have it and don't have it.
But you could have a character attached that didn't have it.
Yeah, still. I don't know. It's not made clear.
No. This is a big pile of leaks. It's not the rule book.
Not everything. We'll see. Infiltrators is deploy anywhere on the board more than 9 inches horizontally away from enemy DZ and all enemy models, which is what it is at the moment, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then the leader
describes the fact that you join a unit, they become an attached unit, and they're stuck with them for the game.
While a bodyguard unit contains a leader, it is known as an attached unit. Each time attack targets an attached unit, until the attacking unit has resolved all of its attacks, you must use the toughness characteristic of the bodyguard models in the unit. Even the leader has a higher or different toughness. Okay,
So that gets rid of any mixed toughness stuff that might arise from this particular rule, which is good.
Okay.
Cool.
Stratagems.
And it also states as well that all leaders' data sheets will specify which units they can join on that leader's data sheet.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big list, actually.
Yeah. Well, we've already seen what what one of those lieutenants can do. The Primus lieutenant from one of the very, very early articles they did. He could only join some Tacticus armored Primaris stuff the same way he was Tacticus armored.
Okay. For stratagems.
Yep.
Stratagems obviously cost CP and they can only be used once per phase. We have command reroll.
Oh, and the color code actually matters. That's interesting. I didn't spot that before.
Surprisingly.
I did notice that some of them had different colors, but I didn't know what it meant.
I like it. It simplifies it. Makes it easy to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a change to command reroll. You can now use it for hazardous tests and desperate escapes.
Cool.
Hits,
So you
wounds,
can use a command reroll to reroll the plasma blowing up in your face.
Yeah. I can't decide if I think plasma is better or worse than the new way.
It's about the same, really, isn't it?
It's just before you could have an aura to reroll all your ones, whereas now you can't. Because you roll the hazardous test separately from your shoot. Like, the hazardous roll is a different roll from your shooting roll, right?
Oh, okay.
So, like, if you fired 6 Inceptors with plasmas, you'd shoot them all as you would normally, do all your hits, then you roll 66, one for each gun. On each one, that's 3 mortal wounds.
I like the fact that your ability to hit something is now divorced from the risk of the plasma gun blowing up in your face. I do like that. From a power gaming point of view, it is less effective that you can't use normal rerolls on it, which is fine. But that change that they're as likely to blow up whether you hit or miss makes sense to me. As well as the change where it doesn't kill characters anymore. It does more wounds to them. That's a compromise I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I mean, like, Mephiston can literally fire his plasma pistol now on high power every time, because he's got a 5-up feeling the pain, I guess, and you'd only... statistically, he would take 2 wounds if it overcharges.
Was it second edition where your plasma gun would only blow up if you rolled a misfire on the sustained fire dice?
Yeah, something like that. That sounds about right.
Because that was quite nice, because it just meant if you only fired one shot, you were okay. If you started rapid firing, you were very likely to kill yourself.
Which makes sense.
Okay, people are pointing out that I'm wrong. It still destroys your models on a roll of a 1 for Inceptors. But yeah, I don't like the fact that, like, before you could get an aura to reroll all your ones. So I think I subjectively, as someone who already hated plasmas, I think this is way more risky now. I'm not going to take
This
any.
hasn't made me want to like plasma now when I didn't before.
No.
Okay.
Except on Mephiston, who needs to fire it on high power every time because he's
like
not
it about as much as I liked it before, because I, unlike you guys, it would seem, do not feel that plasma is useless if you don't high power fire it.
No, I guess that's true.
Yeah, but I'm not a massive wuss, Mark.
Thanks, Tony. I've missed you.
It's like I'm going to shoot this grot. High power. But it's a guardsman. Doesn't matter.
This is what you sound like right now. So, counter-offensive.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Still 2 CP. You're still going to need to use counter-offensive probably half the time when you fight a melee army, so still good, I guess.
Yeah, seems basically the same.
Epic challenge. This is interesting. So when a character unit from your army is within engagement range of 1 or more attached units that's selected to fight, target 1 character model in your unit until the end of the phase. All melee attacks made by this model have precision. What that means is, right, and you're only selecting the character within your unit, right? I could be reading this wrong, but it means that, like, if I have a unit with a character in it, fighting your unit with a character in it, I can pay 1 CP to put all my attacks from my character directly into your character. Because precision lets me target your characters. We can go read precision real quick. It said page 26.
So I couldn't find it. I just looked.
I found it. You have to go scroll down quite a few pages to
Here
find
it
it, but
is.
it is in here. Yeah.
Weapons with precision are known as precision weapons. Each time an attack is made with a weapon, it successfully wounds an attached unit. If a character model is in that unit, is visible to the attacking model, the attacker's model's players can choose to have their attacks allocated to that character model instead of the following normal attack sequence. So it's basically like, Dante's in my unit, and I'm fighting you, and I think Dante can kill your whatever battle sister, Repentia, superior, so I'm just going to kill her for 1 CP.
Cool. For CP, that's, yeah.
But it's only your character. It's not the rest of your unit. It's just your character.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I was hoping it was going to be like mini angel sacrifice. Like if you played that, then the 2 characters were only allowed to attack each other.
I mean, that would have been cool, but yeah.
Do you remember, like, it used to have challenges in Warhammer Fantasy and things like that.
I'm kind of glad that
you declare
not
the
everybody has
challenge.
that. We might get that anyway.
Yeah, that was just cool because like you declare a challenge and either they would fight you one-on-one, or if they refuse the challenge, they would have to go to the back of the unit. It wouldn't be allowed to fight
and
because
they're trying to run away from you. Yeah, that was quite cool.
It's very thematic, isn't it?
Okay, Insane Bravery is different now. It just costs 1 CP. You do it after you failed your battle shock.
That's good.
So you fail your battle shock and you think, fuck, I really needed to hold that objective, so you just pay 1 CP and your guys instantly rally.
And it's no longer just a flat once per game, ever. Yeah. Good.
I don't like that.
Why not?
I think it kind of makes it almost pointless to have battle shock then.
Well, I mean, if
Because you're trying to battle shock a unit, right? So it no longer holds an objective. You've put all the effort into weaken that unit because you want to take that objective, and they're just like, fuck it, don't care, 1 CP.
They can only do it 1 unit. Half your army is going to be less than half strength, so
you don't know that. Yeah.
Also, it depends on what you're spending your CP on, because you're having a lot less of it than we used to.
That is true. I don't know. I think it should still be once per game more.
Okay. Grenades are totally different now. 1 CP for any unit with the grenades keyword. I guess they don't specifically call out frag or crack grenades or any of that shit anymore. They just give you the grenades keyword, and basically
a good thing.
Within 8 inches, you roll 66 for every 4 up its immortal wound. So 1 CP with grenades, you'll probably do 3 CP.
It makes them actually effective and not the joke that grenades were in 9th edition. But it's a shame that you're losing sort of like the variety you could have got from interesting utility grenades.
I think the argument is now that you've got all of the grades and you just throw the one that's most appropriate for the target you're throwing it at.
Yeah. The Highland Phoenix this way is just 8 inches. We might still get grenade launchers on some models.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I suspect then that'll just be a weapon.
Yeah,
probably. I suppose maybe. Tank shock we talked about at the start of the stream. It's using the right unit. It's just going to be like 6 mortal wounds every single time you charge. It's really, really good. Notably, it's vehicles only. So like big chaos demon monsters can't do it, and you know what? Just because of that, I love it. I love it even more. Because fucking, I don't want to take 6 mortal wounds when a bloodthirster charges me, but I'm all good for my ballistas to do 6 mortal wounds when it charges. Because damn it, Marines are better than heretics.
And the ballistas ain't going to do any other damage in the melee phase anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Rapid ingress we've seen already. That looks cool. I like it. I like the fact it happens in your opponent's turn.
Okay. Fire Overwatch we've seen as well.
During your opponent's movement or charge phase, after they've set up or after they've ended a move of basically any type.
Flamers in general are going to get a big buff out of this.
Good.
I actually thought to myself, could this be an argument that a Baal Predator with flamers on it, or a Land Raider Redeemer with flamers on it, might actually be a good thing to have?
Depending on the data sheet. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, go to ground. You can use this in the shooting phase. Basically, when any of your infantry units are targeted, you get a 6-up invuln save, and you get some cover.
I mean, the 6-up invuln save is all but nothing, really. But
it's kind of relevant for Marines.
Is going to be useful for things being shot at in the open air, potentially.
It could be important. Let's say you've got a big unit of chaff or something and they're trying to blow it up, and you think, right, I really need 1 or 2 of these guys to survive to keep the point till my...
One CP for that. I can see that being used fairly often.
Because it could be just really annoying for your opponent. They've got to put just that little bit more firepower in to guarantee that that unit's not holding that objective.
Alonso Lorenzo reckoning tank shot will be nerfed 100%. Given John's reaction to it, you're probably right. Yeah.
Well, you say that, but there was a lot of stratagems that kicked around for other factions for the entire of 9th edition that just were like 6 guaranteed mortal wounds for 1 CP, so I don't know. I mean, it's just the standard 6 mortal wounds for 1 CP. That there's a lot of factions that were able to do that all the way through 9th.
And literally, this is open to any faction, so who knows? Maybe
This
they would
doesn't-
just
yeah,
let it
I
go.
suppose it doesn't need balancing because it is balanced because everyone's got it as long as you've
Yeah.
got some sort of vehicle.
And also, let's face it, if a Land Raider drives a bunch of infantry, it's gonna hurt.
it should be able to run them over.
Yeah.
Smokescreen is one step better than it was before. Now you get both -1 to hit and the benefit of cover.
Is that
So-
what stealth does? Is it?
Yes. So you get. So before, when Smokescreen was just -1 to hit, you now get also the benefit of cover. So Smokescreen, if Infiltrators and Incursors get to keep Smokescreen, this basically makes them a lot better because you used to have to pay 2 CP, right, for like Smokescreen and Transhumant. Now you'd probably just pay Smokescreen and you get a bonus to their save and also a bonus to.
Here's
Are
when I said all
stacking
these
debuffs
pages were in
back or
order,
not?
I was wrong. These are not in order. Sorry,
Are stacking debuffs back?
they haven't. I haven't seen any page that says they're not. So
I
from
don't know
what
if you
we've
can
read
stack up
so
your
far,
-1s to hit. I don't know.
from what we've read so far, there's no limitations on them. But that doesn't mean they're not there.
Can I still yell smoke out when I spend the CP? Says JT Money. I see no reason why not.
Yes. And the stealth ability or USR or whatever is on the page after the one we're looking at the moment. So that's cool.
Heroic Intervention is crazy now.
Really?
So, yeah. Use it in your opponent's charge phase. Select 1 unit from your army within 6. That would be eligible to declare a charge against the enemy unit as if it were your charge phase. So this is kind of like the bikes. Do you remember the bikes for
Yeah, it's squeaky
Custodes?
Except only 6 inches.
Your unit now declares a charge against the target's only that enemy unit, and you can resolve that charge as if it were your charge phase. So I assume that means you're fighting first, or have I read into that
No,
wrong?
you've read that wrong because of the restrictions at the bottom.
You can only select a vehicle unit from your army if it is a walker. Note that even though this is a charge successful unit, does not receive any charge bonus. Okay, right, okay.
I thought 5 first was separate to charge bonus, though.
I think from what it was implying earlier, the fight first is a charge bonus. And we'll get to that in a few pages because these pages are in here. Having just scrolled ahead and looked in them, they're just out of order and not in the order that I thought they were.
Oh, right.
Which is fine. I don't think 2 CP for
It's very powerful. I like it.
heroic intervention that might fail if you fail the charge roll.
Yeah, but it's on any unit. Yeah, 9th, that's a big deal. You take whole chapters because they've got the
that's
ability
fair
to
point.
heroically
Well
intervene.
made.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the Sanguinary Guards heroic intervention, but 1 more CP on any unit. It would only be
Well,
a
You
5.
fail it, admittedly, but
I never really understood the logic that only a character could do it in the first place, to be brutally honest. But yeah, okay.
So it makes me wonder, because if you think about like Space Wolves, I think they had a 1 CP strat that they could play. So like stuff like that, and I think this is why this edition is going to be more balanced. You're not going to have like an army that has like a really cheap heroic intervention that can be used all over the place and really screws you over, because guess what? You can do it, right?
Okay. All right.
so
The 5-inch charge on 2d6 is pretty reliable, I'd say.
Yeah.
let me just roll back for a second. So reading the fight first section again, that in this step, all eligible units with the fight first ability fight. Remember that this will include units that made a charge move this turn and that have a charge bonus.
Okay. So if they heroically intervene, they don't get a charge bonus, therefore they don't count as having fault first.
So I think that's how that is. But I want to know what charge bonus is.
We'll find out because it's going to be one of the pages.
Is it like 3rd edition where if you charge you gain an extra attack? Or
I don't know. I haven't read that bit yet.
Oh, right.
I just know that the
I
charge
thought you
section
had
is a little bit
before.
later on. I haven't actually bothered to read it in detail yet.
All right, so what page are you wanting to look at now? Because you promised me this was in order and it is not.
No, it's not in order. I was mistaken and wrong. We're at the make ranged attacks page now after the stratagems.
Okay.
So if you skip a page, John, and then it goes to making attacks.
Yes.
Hey, what? Oh yeah, you're a page ahead of where I am.
Okay,
So if you scroll back a page, mate.
But this page is clearly the bit before this page.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, ignore me. Okay, let's start with making attacks then. That's fine.
Hit rolls, melee attacks
Can never be modified by more than -1 or +1. Okay, so that's still there, which is fine.
And basically, a critical hit, because they talk about this on other things, a critical hit or a critical wound just means it's always a hit. So if you have a way to get like critical hits on
there
a
are,
4-up,
however, other mechanics that trigger off critical hits or critical wounds, which can stack into there, which is fine.
Okay. The wound roll, nothing has changed. It's still equal on 4, higher on 5s, half on 6s, yes? Okay, so making ranged attacks. When a model shoots its weapon...
There's no limitation stated here to the wound roll being modified. The limitation is under hit roll. The limitation does not appear in the wound roll.
Hit roll, but it doesn't say anything about wounds, does it?
Yeah. Unless that's on a bit that is weirdly out of order that we haven't seen. But I don't think so.
No, that's a good point. So the wound roll could maybe be modified more?
By more than 1 or 2, yeah. Okay.
It could also be an inevitable omission. But yes. All right, so when you make a ranged attack, you attack with number of attacks with your weapon characteristic, resolve all the attacks with 1 unit before resolving the other ones, reroll all attacks made with the same profile, resolving other ones again, and if a weapon was in range, when the target was visible when selected, that weapon's attack can still be made, yes. So if you shoot an entire unit...
Not. A wound roll can never be modified by more than -1 or +1. It's on the next page.
Is it? Okay, cool, fine.
Oh shit! Right, this is where we're supposed to go next. Okay, that's where we're going next.
So keep going next, and then I reckon that you do the next couple of pages, and then we roll back up to the other bumps.
Okay, so
all right.
allocate attacks. Nothing changed there as far as.
Yeah,
and you choose to use your invulnerable save, or you choose your normal.
Never been improved by more than +1 now. Okay.
They've made a big deal of that because there's a lot of units now that this saving throw can never be improved more than a 3+ and things like that, haven't they?
Yeah, that's part of the cover rules. I didn't realise it was a standard thing as saves now, but
I think they're trying to keep more than a 3+ as quite rare.
Yeah.
So does that mean I was going to say a Terminator with the Storm Shield, but we don't know if a Storm Shield's +1 to save.
No, we've not seen any stats for the Storm Shield yet, really.
Yeah.
I think we've only seen one Relic Shield somewhere, and even that wasn't a great set of rules.
Okay.
It specifically says invuln saves can never be modified by an attack's AP. It doesn't say they can't be modified. It says that it can't be modified by an AP.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe there's a specific weapon that can modify invuln saves. There's no mention of demon saves here. Hopefully that's gone, because that's just confusing.
Yeah. Stupid fucking mechanic. Never should have.
Yeah. Okay, so we go through all that. We inflict damage. We talk about mortal wounds.
Feel no pain is feel no pain, which is fine. Good. Feel no pain is a standard rule now, which it should be.
And explosions are standardized.
To ranged weapons.
As well. Okay, so explosions are standardized as well, and then we go back up to ranged attacks.
And mortal wounds do exactly what they used to do before anyway.
Correct, yes. So the major change here in the ranged thing is units cannot shoot while engagement range of enemy units, except pistols. They do clarify that later. Units cannot shoot at targets within engagement range of enemy units. However, monsters and vehicles can shoot and be shot at, even if they are within engagement range of enemy units. Each time a ranged attack is made against one, subtract 1 to the hit roll. So you cannot, for example, have your Dreadnought charge a drop pod and go, haha, you shall not shoot my Dreadnought this turn because it's in engagement range of the drop pod, and then I'll kill the drop pod and move closer to you. That's not a thing.
A monster or vehicle that is engagement range can only shoot the things that it's in engagement range of. It can't shoot out of combat.
Correct, unless I suppose, like, you know how Imperial Guard have that thing at the moment where their turrets can shoot out. There might be some caveats.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
I might have missed this. Maybe someone will tell me, but this does still mean that an infantry unit in combat with a vehicle cannot be shot at.
Correct, yes.
So whilst you can't charge a drop pod with the Dreadnought to hide it from shooting, you could charge a drop pod with a unit
of infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
The Sanguinius Guard could still stick themselves into a rhino or something. To
non-monster or vehicle, yeah. Like some fucking corn dogs or something. Yeah.
No, they could charge a monster or vehicle as well, though, the infantry.
Yeah, they could charge the vehicle, and then the vehicle could still be shot at, but the unit that charged them couldn't.
It's not clear. It doesn't have a limit. It says
Wait, it
that you
doesn't.
can shoot the thing in combat. Monster and vehicles can shoot and be shot at. Have I missed a bit?
No, not at all. By infantry not being mentioned in here, if an infantry unit charges a vehicle, then the infantry unit cannot be shot at while it is engagement range of the vehicle, which is fine.
Yeah, infantry
the way I read
by
that.
basically anything that's not monster and vehicle
Yeah,
keywords. So
exactly.
infantry,
That's all-
beasts, spikes, whatever.
That's all Tony was saying. Which is cool.
Okay, cool.
It's
So
still
that
a valid
is
tactic.
that is cool though. Like in a so for example, like your big fucking giant bloodthirster or Bellicor or Angron isn't immune. Like if I need to do some damage to him in the shooting phase, I could totally do it and then
It's
finish him
being
off in the
based
melee
in combat
phase.
doesn't keep it safe. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Well, that's quite
Well-
cool because if it is a big thing like that, we don't know if phase caps are still a thing. But let's say Bellacor's got a phase cap and he charges into your units and he's chewing through them, or you can be shooting at him and punching at him to try and work your way through those caps.
Yeah, which is great. Reziel does point it out. It means Primarchs typically will be able to be shot because they are
Have they got the monster
monsters.
keyword? In which
They
case,
do.
Yeah. Fine. Fair enough.
Yes. I guess here's the question though: if a Primarch can join a unit,
I think we don't know enough from what we've read to be able to answer
Yeah.
that detailed question. So let's park that one for now, shall we?
okay.
Until
Maybe-
we know how that sort of stuff all stacks together.
All right. So we've looked at hit rolls. We've looked at all the mortals. We're on to
Yeah.
weapon abilities.
Weapon abilities, which is basically universal special rules now. So
Northern Style will be able to be shot, I'm pretty sure, because she is a vehicle. Isn't
If
she?
if she's got the vehicle keyword, yeah, she can probably be shot.
I don't know if she still will. I'm having a look, see if he's got it at the moment.
they didn't show her in the preview. They showed the triumph of some Catherine. So we don't know yet, which is fine.
I'm going to say we got 39 people viewing the stream. We have 22 likes, guys. A few more people could hit the like button. It would be
Woohoo.
appreciated.
Cheers, guys.
Yes,
Currently, she is a vehicle.
Likewise, if we're skipping past anything you're saying, if you remember, please feel free to use your free once a month super chat and stuff to say things you want us to read out and stuff.
Yeah, please do. Okay, so Gilliman has the lone operative keyword they're saying in chat, so he would be able to
Yes,
be
that's
shot.
what I'm saying, but we don't know exactly what that is or how that's going to interact with people in combat. That's going to be a highly detailed thing that I don't think we've seen enough of to be able to read or know how they all interact with each other yet,
Okay.
especially when someone's in melee combat.
Someone's asking what other armies do the Grots play. I mean, they both do play Blood Angels, but you guys have way more armies than me.
Well, that's because you've got what? 1? 2?
Yeah, one army.
1.
Really,
Because
yeah, one.
your Black Templars, your Blood Angels, but with Black Templar rules.
Okay, 1.5.
Okay, fine. I play Blood Angels, I play Craftworld Eldar, I play Imperial Knights, I play Raven Guard. I have a very, very weird mixed bunch of Death Watch that I have no idea is a functional army or not, but I bought it as an old edition of Kill Team and could possibly be used as an army, but never has been and may do. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Tony?
I've got most of them.
I was going to say, there was a little swirl going around his head there. He's like, which one do I not have?
I've got lots of armies that I've never done anything with, I'll admit that. And I've got lots of armies that are in boxes and things because what I tend to do is focus on a couple of armies in an edition and the rest go back in a box. So I've got quite a few armies that haven't been out for night.
Why have you got that picture out again, John?
Picture.
Because I love it.
Fine.
Loves that picture. But no, I've got most of them, I think. What don't I have?
Okay, so hold on.
I don't have orcs. And
Do you not?
have an orc army.
Assault hasn't changed. Rapid
That's weird.
fire
I really want one.
hasn't changed. Ignore cover, I guess, hasn't
A mate
changed.
of mine's got an orc army, which is nothing but grots. Even the tanks are not driven by orcs; they're driven by they've been
grot
converted, so they're all grot driven. It's a really cool army.
I'd love to do it. The reason I haven't is I'd get lost in it, and it would be never ending.
Fair,
but
but it'd be really fun.
linked, we know what Twin Link does, right? You get
Yeah,
reroll
reroll the
wounds.
wound roll, which is good.
Pistols are still the same in that you either shoot with pistols or you shoot with your other weapons. You can't shoot with both pistols and other weapons. And also pistols can be shot within engagement range, unless of course you're a monster or vehicle, and then I guess you don't care. You can shoot big guns, never tire.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything changed with pistols.
But if you do shoot when you're in engagement range, you can only shoot things you're in engagement range with, which makes sense because that's what you're focusing on. Fine.
Torrent is just auto hits, basically.
Yep, slight flamers.
Lethal hits means
A critical hit counts as a auto wound.
as a wound. Yeah. So basically,
So
automatically wound.
yes.
And if you've got something that modifies what you critical hit on, then and it also has lethal hits, then that could stack together. So let's say if you critically hit on a 4+ and you had lethal hits, then a hit of 4+ would also be an auto wound, which could be a nice little stacking thing there.
Okay.
The lance rule confuses me.
I think it's for like those Rough Riders
it's
for
a
Imperial
physical
Guard.
lance, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
When it says lance, I'm thinking bright lance and dark lance, not.
No.
Because remember the old rules for those that they would always penetrate a vehicle.
They
on a floor up?
counted armor. Armor could never count as more than 12 when they were shooting at
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I remember that.
No, I think it's for the only unit I
think
can
this is
think that has
standard.
this is when they like charge and
Yeah.
indirect fire.
Like shining spears and Rough Riders, like you've said. That's fine.
Yeah. Indirect fire is slightly different in that you can still target models even if they're not visible. If no models are visible from the target unit, then when it is selected, you still take -1 to hit, and the target gets the benefit of cover. So before the current
Before it was just +1 to save, which did stack with the benefit of cover, but now it doesn't.
yeah. So now it's just the benefit of cover. So, for example, power armor guys don't get any benefit from cover when they're in. They can't improve their save beyond a 3+. So, if you're shooting like an AP0 indirect fire weapon, arguably it got a little bit better, marginally better.
And if your indirect fire is a heavy weapon and you don't move and fire it, then you get -1 to hit and +1 to hit. If you don't move.
So whirlwinds are good again. No, they're not.
Yeah. Attas just pointing out there is a lance in the Space Marine arsenal.
Oh, what is it? Oh, a cannon on a bike. Okay, yeah, I guess. I had to think of that.
Well,
isn't he?
Power weapons used to be a category of weapons that included power lances as well that you used to be able to
He
get.
did, yeah.
Hello, Foz. The cannon on the
Hey,
bike's
Foz.
literally getting discontinued this week. Or like made to order up until the 29th, isn't he? Anyway, precision weapons, we talked about that earlier. You can use it on your character to target an enemy character when you're both in combat with your bodyguards or your attached unit. Blast is different now. We talked about that on a stream as well, how you still roll your 2d6. You can't target units that are within engagement range. And you get +1 for every 5 models.
Every full 5, not partial 5, which is fine. So if you're shooting at a unit with 7 models in it, you get +1 extra shot, which is cool.
Okay. I was trying to think for a second there. Is there any way I can shoot my blast weapon at your tank that my infantry are in engagement range with? But I think this clarifies it. You can never use it against the target that is within engagement range of any units from your own.
Yeah, because you don't want to risk blast.
Death
model.
Guard. I don't have a Death Guard army.
Oh, you're still thinking. Okay.
Because it's stinky.
Yeah,
Because
they
they're too
are.
smelly, yeah. Melta
I
increases...
appreciate the paint job some people could do for the Death Guard army, making them look so gross and disgusting and ugly, but
Yeah, they gross me
why
out.
would
I
you
don't like
want
it.
to? Oh,
It's that weird body horror thing. Like David Cronenberg movie style. I don't like it.
fair enough. Right, okay.
It creeps me out.
Melta is bonus damage within half range, same as
Yep.
it was before. However, yeah, no, I think it's just the same as it was before,
Yeah,
really. And
pretty
then
much.
heavy is if you
You can
remain
now vary
stationary,
how much damage it does, yeah.
you get +1 to hit.
Yeah, which is cool. I like that. I like that. I like it being a +1 if you're stationary rather than a penalty.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Hazardous. I talked
Okay.
on this a little bit before.
You did. Now we've got the full rules.
After a unit shoots or fights, if it has like a hazardous part of that weapon profile, you roll 1 hazard dice for each hazardous weapon used. So if you've got 2 plasma pistols and you're firing them both in high power, then that's 2 dice. For each one model equipped with a hazardous weapon is destroyed. Characters, monsters, and vehicles suffer 3 mortals instead.
That does make psychic powers much more dangerous, as someone said in the chat earlier.
Yeah,
I think it makes plasma much more dangerous as well. Right?
You can use a CP reroll on it.
Yeah.
But one, like I said, if you fire 3 Inceptors, or people take 5 Inceptors, don't they? Right? So you fire 5 Inceptors, then you're rolling 10 dice. Every one is a dead model.
Yes, it means you get to avoid them less, but I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I appreciate you dislike plasma in general anyway, so you're predisposed to dislike it.
Actually, Jim says it's rough on Redemptors. I actually think it's probably better on like a Redemptor because you're getting potentially like 6 shots from a Redemptor, but you're only taking 1 hazardous test, right? So like it's better in some things, but a lot worse on other things. I think it's a lot worse.
Single plasma weapons with a lot of shots, this is better.
Yep.
But multiple plasma weapons with less shots, this is worse.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
I agree with that 100%.
Cool.
Okay, devastating wounds are whenever you roll a 6 on your wound roll, or whenever you get a critical wound. Sorry, all your damage is converted into mortals.
In case there's a mechanic that changes what your critical wound target number is, like the one next to it.
Okay. Sustained hits means critical hits score an additional hit. That's very simple. Extra attacks. We've not actually seen this yet, I don't think, but basically extra attacks.
We've seen at least one previewed unit that uses this. I think it was a demon.
Okay, probably.
I'm not entirely sure, but either way, generally speaking, you get to attack with 1 melee weapon, no matter how many melee weapons you've got on your profile. So Gilliman's got 2 melee weapons. Choose 1, unless the extra weapons in the profile has this extra attack special rule, in which case you get to attack with them as well anyway.
Okay, and then anti, which is basically, that's why I was saying chain fists are good. Chain fists have anti-vehicle 3+, which means whenever you fight a vehicle, regardless of what its toughness is, on a 3+, it's always classed as a critical wound, so it is a wound, a successful wound.
So no matter if you're shooting a vehicle with a strength 2 gun and it's toughness 20, but it's anti-vehicle 3, then you're always going to wound on 3, which is cool.
Nice.
So
they'll use it on haywire and psych out stuff and so forth.
Maybe lances, as in bright lances and dark lances.
We've already seen a bright lance stat.
Have we?
And it doesn't have that. They did the faction focus for Eldari a couple of days ago.
Lorenzo says, is it time for the long-awaited Thunderhawk Starship bomb? It's already here. And Alex has suggested maybe they'll make Inceptors twin link, and then you're only rolling 1 dice. So Inceptors get twin link rule.
They'll only be rolling 1 dice anyway.
No, they've got 2 guns.
Oh no, it's for each hazardous weapon. Yeah, you're right.
So if they made them twin link, then you're only that's what John was saying. That's why
if the weapon profile is like plasma guns and it's meant to represent the 2 that is twin link, then that would work.
Yeah, and
otherwise, John's right. They're going to be blowing themselves up with incredible regularity, and there's not a lot you can do about it.
Hellblasters might become better, but we'll see. Double plasma guys are going to be really risky.
Who knows? Right. Maybe there'll be some way to buff them that like a character joins them who like makes their plasma less likely to explode. God knows.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
This makes potentially. I wonder if they'll keep the rule of Tau not having hazardous plasma, because that was their big thing. That was slightly lower powered but wasn't hazardous because you got your battle suits with all the plasma guns.
Yeah, Eldar plasma does exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
from their star cannons and whatnot. They only have the 1 profile.
Maybe.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So a unit is eligible to charge.
So the charge bonus
unless
is
any of the following apply. So aircraft are never able to charge now.
That makes sense. Fine with
that. Except Helldrakes, it doesn't make sense for them.
Tough. Don't like them anyway.
Maybe they'll have a special rule.
Stupid. metal fire chicken things.
I think they're cool.
They are cool, but they
I
fucking
quite want to
wrecked
paint
in
one.
6th
I've never
edition.
painted one.
They were like Nemesis, horrible pieces
Oh, they
of
were-
shit in 6th, 7th edition.
They were broken.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Okay,
Anyway.
so apart from that, here's your charge bonus. Each time a unit makes a charge move until end of the turn, the unit has the first ability.
So is just fights first.
So basically, it
So it would
means
fit.
that when you use that heroic intervention, you are not fighting first unless your model or unit would have an ability that lets them fight first.
Yeah.
But
Which
it
is
limits
cool.
the power slightly, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fine.
Okay, so charges must be within 12 inches. They don't need to be visible.
Yeah.
If the distance is insufficient to move within engagement range of all targets while maintaining unit coherency, the charge fails. You cannot move engagement range of a unit that was not charged. To charge successful, each model makes a charge move less than or equal to charge roll and must move into base-to-base contact with an enemy if possible. That is new as well.
That
They're
is
removing
probably a good thing.
some of the jank that you can do in the
Yeah.
fight phase.
Yeah.
It stops you doing crazy shit like moving round units and
Well, as long as you end in base to base, you can still do that.
yeah. But
But
there
yeah,
used to be ways of doing clever consolidations to get
Yeah.
round things onto objectives and stuff like that. You can't just use a charge to get onto an objective unless the opponent has stuck a unit that lets you do that.
I haven't seen anywhere defining what engagement range is yet.
Nope, well, maybe we get to that in the next page.
Yeah.
Will we? Oh,
No, because that's the last page.
I was going to say, I do have another download of this 10th edition leaks. Let me see if this one has
A bit more in it.
anything about the charge phase
Well.
in it.
It's all good.
Charge phase. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, charging over terrain. This is it.
Oh yeah, you've got a bit more in your version.
Okay, so models can be moved freely over terrain features 2 inches or less in height. Models can move through terrain features taller than 2 inches, but can
We've seen
climb
this
up and
page.
down them.
We've
No,
seen
that
this
was
page.
that was movement. This is charging.
Oh, okay.
Or
No. This is no.
I feel
right.
like the other one was moving. I
didn't
think
have
it's
that, it didn't
very
have it.
similar.
That's
right?
fine. That's fine. The picture did look very similar, which is what confused
Yeah,
me.
this one was moving over terrain. This one is charging over terrain.
Okay, cool.
So a model can be moved over terrain features that are 2 inches less than height as if they were not there. So you don't have to take any. So a monster can jump over a pipe without taking any movement off its. Without taking any inches off its movement.
Good.
And then, like you said, you can just climb up stuff. So there's nothing to say a vehicle can't just drive the fuck up that wall if you roll in a high enough charge move.
That we've seen so far. Yeah. There
Okay.
might be something in a bit we haven't read or haven't seen yet that defines what the vehicle keyword means or does.
Okay, and then charging with
There might
fly
be a bit that
models.
says vehicles can't drive up buildings. Don't be stupid.
Fly models can move over other models when they make a charge move. Fly models that start or end a charge move on a terrain feature measure the distance through the air when they make the charge move.
Just like moving. That's fine.
So charging up and down buildings becomes more difficult as well. Except, I suppose, if it's just 2 inches, then you can ignore it.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Okay, and then pile in. So assume we've made some charges, we pile in. Every model moves up to 3 inches. Every model that moves must end closer to the closest enemy model and in base-to-base contact with the enemy model if possible. Unit must end in unit coherency and with an engagement range of at least one enemy or no models can pile in. Where does it say where engagement range is?
Don't know. Still haven't seen it yet.
I don't see it.
I'm
'Cause
sure
they're
I
happy
saw
sa-
somewhere 1 inch.
They're happy saying base
Sure, I saw
and
1 inch.
engagement range as different terms, so I don't think they're the same.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't 1 inch, but I just haven't seen it spelled out anywhere yet.
When you fight, a model can make fight if it's within engagement range. A model can fight if it's base-to-base with another model from its own unit that is itself within base-to-base contact of the enemy unit. So if you want to fight on rank 2, you need to be base-to-base with rank 1 and base-to-base with rank 2.
Yeah, which is fine. We've got no problem with that.
So that used to be half an inch of a half an inch.
It did, yes.
So everything is going to be much more close together, which is fine, but you're just going to end up picking up one model out of the melee and you're going to move all the other models because they're all fucking touching. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
If it happens, it happens.
Okay, so each model
it's the thing.
chooses one of its melee attacks, it makes the number of attacks.
Yeah.
You select targets. Attacking models must be within engagement range of an enemy unit to target it, or in base-to-base contact with another unit from itself that's base-to-base contact with the enemy. So, I guess there's going to be a lot of the jankiness in combat removed. Most of us have learned it now.
I suspect there's still going to be some combat jank to figure out in here, or
There'll be new combat
watch
jank,
somebody's video on how to combat jank combat, but we'll work it out when we get there.
Alright, so assume that there's a bunch of fighting and people are dead. For your consolidation move, you move up to 3 inches. Every model that moves must stand closer to the nearest enemy model and in base-to-base contact with the enemy model if possible. So you have to move into base-to-base contact if possible if you choose to move. I feel like you can still choose to not move.
I'd assume so, yeah.
You can move each model, so you can choose to move in or you can choose not to, but if you do choose to move, you have to base-to-base. Everybody, the unit must have coherency.
You don't have to base-to-base. You have to base-to-base if you can.
If you can, yeah.
Yeah.
If the above is not possible, each model must move towards the closest... Oh, sorry. If the above is not possible, each model can move towards the closest objective marker, but this must result in the unit being within range of it in coherency. If none of the above is possible, you cannot move.
Okay, cool. So if you can't end in base to base, you can't pile in, and if you can't end up on an objective, you can't pile in. Fine.
Yeah. So if I route your unit, I've killed your whole unit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still allowed
in the middle of nowhere.
I'm still allowed to move 3 inches towards the closest objective at that point. Correct?
Only if you end up within claiming range of that objective. If you can't end up in claiming range of the objective, you can't move.
Ah, okay, that's different.
You can't just like walk towards it a bit. It's got to actually get you there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that removes some of the jank with like World Eaters fighting twice and being able to get like 12 inches of free
movement. It removes a lot
of
that sort of jank, which I'm happy with because that was all just...
It doesn't seem like a bad thing, does it?
Okay, then they got some examples on that, but I think we've covered it. I think we know.
It was extra complication that some players got and some players didn't, and I'm happy with it now.
Okay, and then I don't think the only other page I've got then is I've got a strategic reserve page.
Oh, okay.
Saying that in a 2,000 point battle, you can put 500 points into strategic reserve. This, like, you can maximize 25%. It doesn't seem like there's any limit before where it was like certain units have to be on the table, certain don't. I guess it doesn't matter if you're only putting 25% into strategic reserves.
Yeah.
They arrive in your movement phase from the second battle round onward, and there's no stipulation like they have to come in before turn 3. That seems to just be gone. We've got during the second battle round, they set up wholly within 6 inches of enemy battle edge, but not in the enemy deployment zone. From the third battle round, they set up wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, I guess including the enemy deployment zone, and the standard cannot be 9 from models still exists. So strategic reserves are quite a bit more flexible now.
And that can be used on any unit for no cost, I take it.
Sounds like it, because you won't have CP before the start of the game, so how would you do it? So if you wanted to get 2 units of Voidsmen at arms, or maybe you can't do 2 units, but if you want to get 2 cheap squads that can do some sort of retrieval action or something like that, if that's still a thing, then it's going to be much easier to get them in now, because the enemy's going to have to screen out all 3 sides of the board.
Sorry, I know I've been a bit quiet for a minute because I've been trying to work out the engagement range thing. On the page that talks about selecting targets,
yes.
Let me just read you this quote.
Please.
In order to select an enemy unit as a target of the melee attack, the attacking model must be either within engagement range of that enemy unit or in base-to-base contact with another model in its own unit that is in itself base-to-base with the enemy unit.
Yeah.
Now that, for me, implies that engagement range is base-to-base.
It does, yes.
To me, it implies that it's not.
or that it's more. So engagement range is either you're base to base or you're next to a model that's base to base. To me,
No. You either need to be in engagement range, or if you want to fight as 2 ranks, you need to be in base to base with base to base. So that implies they're 2 different, separate ways of defining whether you're in combat or not.
don't know.
Otherwise, they wouldn't say base to base when they could just say engagement range,
Yeah.
or they wouldn't say engagement range when they could just say base to base because they're happy saying one and the other. I kind of see where you're getting this, but I disagree with you.
I feel like we've just not got the page that tells the default.
I think I saw somewhere it referred to page 7, and I don't think we've got page 7.
Okay.
And I think
It's
that
a leak. We're never going to get all the stuff easily and conveniently, are we? So that's
No,
fine.
no, not at all. No,
I find it
well-
amusing that every single page that has been shown on all of these leaks,
hasn't got a fucking
none of
page
them
number.
have fucking page numbers.
Can someone get
Not a
this guy
single
on
one.
their? Can someone get this guy on their Twitter, please, and ask him if he can share page 7?
Oh yeah, great.
It's very annoying. It's doing my OCD, and I do not like it.
All right. Was there anything else that we need to cover? It sounds like for the most part, I think 10th is going to be pretty good. I feel like they've
I'm
got.
still looking forward to it. These faction previews that they're doing are causing so much aggro from people who are going, wow, my army's been nerfed horribly. It's going to be doing this, and this doesn't exist anymore because it's not in the preview. And wow, fucking get a grip.
I don't care about nerfing the armies, because if they nerf all the armies, then that's fine. They're all balanced still.
Yeah.
I still maintain what I said, that I think competitive play in 10th edition is going to be dull as fuck, because I think it's going to make it balanced, they're going to have to pull out so much. I suspect that what we're going to see is in the competitive mode, which will be the Grand Tournament pack, it will say you are allowed this data sheet, this data sheet, this data sheet for each army. And they're going to limit what data sheets you can bring. And that's the way they're going to do it. They might even say things like you're only allowed units of X number. And that's how they get around the transports and things. So a unit of intercessors is 5 men, say. In this Grand Tournament pack, you can bring intercessors, terminators, XYZ, and they're going to do it like that.
Have you got anywhere from this, or are you just thinking that this might happen?
I'm speculating, but for want of a better term, as I've said to students use this all the time, educated guess.
All right, okay. Fair enough.
And so the way that you end up building your army for a tournament is like a deck of cards. So a bit like Magic and things like that. So the tournament pack will have which cards you're allowed. And you go, right, I'm going to have that card, that card, that card, that card, that card. That's my
going
army.
to
Away we go.
massively exclude people who don't have those cards. I
Yeah,
was like,
they will
okay,
do
so
that.
we're going to be on this cycle for a new tournament pack every 6 months, and
Yeah.
I've bought my new cards for this 6 month cycle, to use your analogy, and I've got them all built and I've got them painted up, and a new tournament pack comes up, and now I can't use them in the new one. And
I don't think it'll be quite as strict as that, but I do think there will be some. So in this pack, you're allowed the newest units, all the Primaris ones. You're going to be allowed Redemptor Dreadnoughts in all of them, but you might not be allowed Land Speeders.
I am colossally dubious about this educated guess.
Yeah, I don't think
We'll
they'll
see.
do that because
I think what they
Well,
will do is they will fuck around with the Tempest to War deck, or the mission deck, or whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, I know. I know the chat think I'm mental, but
I just think that they can't. I think they've proved over the last 5 or 6 years, Tony, that they can't balance the game. Right, like as someone who plays one
what
army,
they've proved
they
is
can't.
that they can't balance the game in its current format. And I don't think you can. I don't think anybody could balance the game in its current format. There's too much in it. The only way to balance it will be to streamline what's in it. And the way you streamline it is you make it very straightforward of what options you can pick.
Yeah, I agree with
I see
you
what
in
you're
that
saying.
sense, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, in principle, I can see what you're saying and why, but
Yeah.
I don't think it'll
listen
happen.
to Yuan in the see. This guy gets it. I think Tony's onto something. Combat Patrol looks like exactly that. It's exactly what I mean with
Combat Patrol is exactly that, but that's
and
not
I
a big
think that'll
competitive
stack
play.
up bigger. I think they'll take that idea further with a larger competitive.
Competitive combat patrols could be a really fun way to play. And that'd be definitely worth playing a tournament where that happens, because they're all really restricted units, very closely and tightly balanced against every other combat patrol. And that could be the most balanced 40k will ever be. But it's not 40k. It's 40k light. It's combat patrol 40k.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll do to tournament play.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
that's the
would
way
go
they'll
to
balance it.
tournaments that do that, because collecting combat patrols
Oh,
would
it's
be
fun.
quite
I used to
cool.
like when many years ago when I used to play things like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. I used to like close, like where you'd have like you'd buy 10 packs and that's what you got for your tournament and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nah.
Restrictions.
If they
breeds
do what you're
creativity.
suggesting, then that they've lost me for the duration they're doing that. I'm not interested. If
I
that's
think
the
there's-
only way competitive play works, then fuck that noise.
Yeah, I think they've got.
I've got too big of a collection to want to be restricted to using a portion of it for any given time.
You're already going to get, like, the meta's changed. Like, you're going to need vehicles. You're going to need anti-tank weaponry, right? They've already changed everything. I don't think they can they're trying to balance it with universal special rules. They're trying to balance it by putting stuff on the data sheets. They're
trying
not
to
I
make
gonna-
it
reckon
much
the
more of a
final step for
battlefield
balancing
game.
it will be restricting what your units you can bring and how you can set them up.
Well, I mean, they'll do that if they have I guess if you think of the way that they only let you have 2 flyers in 9th edition, as far as I'm aware, that's gone in 10th. So if you wanted to run an army where you had 1 squad of infiltrators and 9 fucking flyers, 3 storm ravens, 3 whatever else, 3 whatever else, you could do it. But I think they're going to basically say, like, you're not going to be competitive because
Yeah, they'll have 0 objective control stat,
yeah.
and you won't be able to do most of the objectives that come in the secondary.
So
objective deck.
they're trying to open it up and let you take more of what you want, but good players are going to figure out, well, I need 3 players of troops because I need to hold objectives, and I need 3 armor tanks because I need to kill enemy armor, and I need 3 fast moving melee units to kill enemy melee, and I think the game's going to be more balanced than it's been in ages. Skew lists are going to be
Totally
dead.
agree. I wouldn't say that. There's always something. There's so much we've not seen.
Some
There's
skew
so
lists are
much
going to
we've
be
not
dead.
seen.
Don't get me
Skew-
wrong. I'm not basing this on anything. I can see Chrono's like, where are you getting this? Nowhere, Chrono. This is entirely.
His source is he made it up out of it, pulled it out of his ass.
It's not sourced because I'm not claiming it's true. I'm basing it purely on they're making a big deal out of balancing it, and I've been thinking about this, and the only way I can see them being able to do it is, as I've said from the beginning, starcrafting it, and I think that's a way that it will work to do that.
You are correct in that it would work.
I'm basing
I
it
can't see it
purely on that. No insider knowledge here at all.
They don't want it. They don't. They want the game to appear more balanced, right? They don't want it to be as balanced as StarCraft because they don't want to just sell you 10 units.
They've got to sell you everything. They want to sell you as many models as they possibly can do.
But
So
by
they're not
rotating
gonna
it
do
around,
that.
They can a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll do that because it would too many
the
models.
barrier
would be-
of-
What you do is you restrict each tournament. So each tournament has got X number of missions. These are the missions you can play. These are the things you can play it with.
The
for your
barrier of
army.
buying your models, building your models, and painting your models within the time frame of knowing what those restrictions are will prevent that from being a workable solution.
Unless the units don't change that much.
Well, then why even do it in the first place?
Yeah, at that
Because
point
you
they just
make little
legends.
changes here and there.
They're
So in
just
this
legends
season, you
the
can't
units.
run that unit, but you can run this unit. But the core of it isn't changing.
I think we've kind of run this into the ground a bit, really. You are right. It would balance it, but I think the downsides would. Yeah. Should we move on to something else?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. This is massive tinfoil hat. It's totally speculative.
Would either
Blah,
of
blah,
you go
blah.
to a tournament that was bring a combat patrol?
No.
I'd be more interested in going to a tournament that said bring a combat patrol than I would a normal one at the moment.
Because it would guarantee a much closer level of balance than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
So
And
what
it'd
you're
be an
saying is, John,
excuse.
you don't want to go to a tournament where balance is a factor.
I do, but I want to build my own army. That's why I was saying to you, I'm so glad 10th edition is coming because I'm so sick of seeing lists that are 3 units of Sangre Guard and 3 units of Death Company. I think it's fucking boring and it's a skew list. I want to
No, I
see
do
an
too. I
army
hate it.
that
all right, then.
uses.
Given what we know so far, and given how things are going on, I appreciate you've all got stuff going on in your life at the moment. Are either of you doing anything particular to get ready for 10th Ed?
Oh yeah, like have you not seen how much I've been painting, Mark? I've finished like 5 units in a month. It's like unheard of.
I've been making progress on my item level, and wow, thank you very much. Boosting my professions up.
I
Okay,
found
so-
one of the original Necrons in a box. I don't know if
Wow.
it was Focus.
Okay, well
I
I'm
did-
taking
I
it.
did.
I did order a Khorne Berserker, one of the new ones, ready to go in my collection of all the models in the armies ever up there. So I've now got a Khorne Berserker, and my list is now.
I got
think
made
it's
to order Khan the Betrayer.
Ooh, nice.
The original, the old battle
Nice.
Very
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, no, I've been finishing as many different models as I can. I have a list as long. I have about 2,000 points I want to finish. So
I'm looking forward now to getting the big box set and opening it up, and hopefully doing it on stream either with you guys or on my own and going through it.
I always
about
have a lot of
something.
fun with the new big box, and I'm
Mm.
really genuinely looking forward to that book box. I think the models look great. And that's why I was saying about Combat Patrol. You said you wouldn't go. Well, I like the idea of Combat Patrol games because you can pick up a new Combat Patrol.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I would
That's
go
what you
to a
need.
tournament if I could pick up a new Combat Patrol. If you
But
paint
you know
me
what I mean?
one,
That's a fun day, that is, isn't it? You've got a weekend before or whatever. You've got the week before, you buy your new Combat Patrol, it's NIDS or something. You've never played them before. You've got a week, you put them together and you take them at the weekend and you've got what you've got.
And they're
And by
great
playing
plastic.
it like that, they've all set up and you haven't got to worry about warlord traits or shit like that. And you can just play a whole new army.
yeah, no, do you know what? I would enjoy that actually. Yes,
And that
you're right.
to me sounds wicked. That's why I like the idea of combat. I wouldn't want to turn up to Combat Patrol tournament with Blood Angels.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Plus, the Blood Angels Combat Patrol stinks, but let's not go into
Well, I think we'll get a new one anyway.
Yeah, I suspect we'll get a new one.
But
Um,
But
'cause
for
I-
now,
I-
it is the one that there is. So
I've
maybe
been
they'll
to
do
those.
rules straight.
I've been to those Magic the Gathering tournaments before, Tony, where they open like 100 blister packs and they go round, and you're allowed one card, and then you got to pass 14 on or whatnot. And they're
I love
so
them
much
in
fun.
theory. They make my head hurt. They do.
They're so
Everybody
much fun. Though,
seems
because
to pick the better ones than I do. I think I'm being clever and I pick a card, and it's just like I wind up with shit.
I always like the ones where you get 10 packs and they're just blind box and you get what you got. And it could be completely unusable garbage, but then you've got to make do with it.
I always used to go for like the weediest creature deck I could find, Mark. So I would just have shitloads of like 1/1 creatures. I had nothing, no other strategy than like I would death by a million cuts.
There's always that one deck who spent £2,000 or thousands of pounds of dollars or whatever on their deck, and they've got all the rares, and it's like, fuck you. Let's just play sealed deck and see who's actually the better player, shall we, mate? Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered the whole of the rulebook. If anyone has any questions, they can leave them down below.
Yeah.
We
So
will do our best to
thinking
answer them.
forward about schedule, while we've got you guys here to weigh in on this in the audience, if you'd like to. Our next video due is on the 1st of June, Thursday, 1st of June, which will be before pre-orders go live. The next video after that, assuming we stick to the schedule, will be the 15th of June, which will be during the middle of the pre-orders. Next video after that will be the 29th of June, which will be after the boxes come out, assuming the dates are all correct. So what the fuck are we going to do for the next couple of weeks, guys? Should we actually do a pre-recorded video to make Tony happy?
I mean, we could, but what we talk, like anything we talk about in 9th edition is like that's irrelevant. Like literally day after we talk about it. Almost.
Utterly irrelevant, completely.
Um,
If you've got suggestions in chat, please make your suggestions. We'd love to hear them. I could do a little video on Aeronautica or Titanicus or something. We could see how that goes. We could just.
I want tiny planes.
I understand Carter's set of tiny planes turned up recently.
They
I
did.
think I saw that in Discord somewhere.
Yeah.
So you could get them to come over and show you how it works.
Okay.
we could do a hobby night, but
We could do a night of building and painting while we just talk whatever bullshit comes into our mind, or Tony teaches us how to paint red. I don't know. How do you make magenta?
Resi says he was going to suggest a full 9th edition retrospective, but you guys are 9th edition haters. I'm not a 9th edition hater, Resi. I'm the opposite. I think 9th edition is the best edition of Warhammer we've ever had.
So
And
far,
I'm not saying that sarcastically.
Yeah,
I
okay.
genuinely think that it is the best rule set we have ever had.
we talk about legends. I try not to look backwards, really, personally. I like to see what's forward and what's coming next and trying to be constructive and looking backwards.
We will do a bullshit
Nostalgia's
of the
all well
year
and good,
episode
but-
at the end of the year
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
I don't
enjoy
know.
doing those.
This is why I mention it now, because I got no idea what the fuck
I was
to
gonna
do
say,
for the next
like-
2 weeks, really.
We could do next, if we pre-recorded it next Thursday, we could talk about the stuff that's going made to order. But the thing is, by the time it releases the Thursday after that, the made to order will have ended. So it would be like,
Yeah,
hey, here's
absolutely.
what you could have
And
had.
everything's sold out, yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
hear
you
you've
love
got-
Darks of Omen. I love Darks of Omen as well.
Do I understand you've got your Lion book now?
I haven't, but James, one of the moderators from the Discord, did track me down a copy, so I've just got to sort that out with him to get it off of him, and then I have finally
Yeah.
got the full set of Darks of Omen.
Would that be James? Happy birthday today, mate. Gib.
It would.
Excellent. Happy birthday, James.
GTM saying we could do the hobby night. There'll be plenty to chat about. There'll be
Yeah.
a few more previews to chat about.
I didn't say it was negative to do a retrospective. I'm just saying I don't personally find a lot of value in it, which might mean I struggle to contribute meaningfully. I don't know. It's possible. Might be good, might be bad.
Not suggesting Kill Team. You see, the thing is, Kill Team is a super balanced game. It's not, but it could be a super balanced game, and I use it a lot for the kids. So a lot of people know that I run clubs at school. For kids to get. And the good thing about the way Kill Team's designed is that you buy a box of infantry for any army, a troop's choice, and you've got Kill Team. But fuck, it's dull. It really is dull.
Kill Team for me suffers from one major problem, and that major problem is I bought quite heavily into the previous edition,
Yeah,
played it once, wasted a shit ton of money, and made a promise to myself not to buy the new one.
I've got all of the books from the previous season.
Yeah,
I do
have the
like Arcs of
previous
Omen.
season, but-
I'm really enjoying Arcs of Omen, and more importantly, I'm still really enjoying boarding actions.
Boarding
I'm thoroughly
actions is
enjoying
wicked.
playing boarding actions since they released it, and I'm still playing them every couple of weeks with my local mates here, and it's great fun.
Boarding action is wicked, and I still like Tempest.
Yeah, see that? We could do an episode talking about all the faction focuses that have gone around so far, about what we think of them.
We've pretty covered that, haven't we?
There'll be more.
No, true.
There will be more.
Right. Anyway, I think we're just jabbering now. For the sake of it.
Is that all we're here to do? No? Okay.
And I can hear a little man singing my song.
Yeah.
So I think it is probably about time to wrap it up. So if anybody's got any last questions or anything, if you want to stick them in the chat now, I think we're going to try and wind this down now.
I will consider us told. Says
Consider
the,
yourselves told.
says the new parent in the room.
It's funny because last night I tried to do streaming and my daughter woke up like 8 times or something. And it's tonight we're doing the podcast, the door's open, we're loud, we're laughing.
Yep.
She just sleeps, you know?
Yeah.
Perfect. Like, that's the way it is. You'll get there, Tony, don't worry.
My little one is not asleep. I can hear him.
I can hear him, yeah.
Are you still doing live games on Wednesdays, John, or when do you reckon your last Ninth Ed live game will be?
Gav wants one final game of Ninth Ed, which I've agreed to, but Gav's work schedule is always nuts. So I did play a game on Sunday.
Okay.
I will play probably like one more game of Ninth or something, but the problem is Andrew doesn't want to play anymore. He's like super focused on 10th. He just wants to play 10th. And most of my games against Andrew, right?
Not telling. If you wait a few minutes until after the stream's finished and then press the replay button, then we'll start from the top again, just for you.
He also says boarding action just into the Dark Kill Team big 40k style. I don't know that I entirely agree with that, because the big thing that I don't like about Kill Team is the lack of customization. And the big thing that I do like about 40k is the massive amount of customization.
All right. I guess on that note, let's end it. We will be back at some point, probably 2 weeks
We
from
will.
now, either live or pre-recorded. You just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's like,
Have a
it's
good
like
night,
the end of a
folks.
Bond film. Jon Stewart will return.
In one form or other.
Brown
We might have
film.
recast him by then. We might have pissed us off too
One
much.
gifted sub.
If you were recasting Blood Angels Commander, who would you recast instead of John?
Okay, there's a good question. Yeah. Oh God, I don't even want to know if
Tony's
anyone's.
actually thinking about it. I love that
I was going to
expression.
say, I'm about to jump out the window when I
Would it
hear
be
you.
Kurt Russell by any chance? Would it be Henry Cavill or something stupid? Fuck knows.
Steve Buscemi.
Bob Hoskins. There we go.
Danny DeVito.
Okay.
That's going to be our three. Steve Buscemi, Bob Hoskins, and Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito's eyes. Why am I like 4'2"?
Well, I thought Danny was going to play me, actually. Bob can play Mark.
This is a world of wrong.
Yeah. All right. Good night, folks. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next
Thanks
time.
very much indeed, everybody. Cheers. Have a good one.
Bye-bye, people.
Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel's Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.